before Zeus ruled from Mount Olympus, before the gods of Greece became symbols of power, glory, and eternal light, there was another race of gods, older, stronger, and far more terrifying. They were called the Titans. But the greatest lie ever told about them is that they were only monsters. In truth, they were the first rulers of existence itself, the forces of earth, ocean, light, darkness, and time. And long before Zeus raised his lightning against the heavens, the universe was ruled by a father so afraid of losing power that he swallowed his own children alive. This is the story of the Titans, the gods before the gods, and the war that created Olympus. If you enjoy ancient myths explained with simple language but deeper meaning, take a moment to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. Now, let's step into the shadow of the first gods. When we think of Greek mythology, our minds instantly go to the 12 Olympians, Zeus, Poseidon, Hades, and the grand stories of their power. We are taught that they conquered the Titans, locked them in a dark prison, and brought light to the world. It sounds like a simple story of good defeating evil, of light conquering darkness. But if this was only a monster story, why did the ancient Greeks keep telling it with such profound reverence? Why would a civilization place these defeated giants at the very root of their creation myths? The truth is, the word Titan does not mean monster. In its oldest roots, it carries the weight of straining, stretching, and exerting immense power. The Titans were the foundations of the natural world, and their war with the Olympians was not a simple battle for a throne. It was something far more dangerous. It was a war between two entirely different ways the universe could exist. To understand the war, we have to look at the world before there were cities, before there were laws, before there was even a sky separated from the earth. In the beginning, there was only Gaia, the earth, and Uranus, the sky. They were primal forces, vast and untamed. Together, they gave birth to the first generation of giants, the 12 Titans. These were not wild beasts. They were majestic, beautiful, and divine beings. Among them were Oceanus, the infinite river encircling the world, Hyperion, the Lord of Light, and the youngest, a cold and calculating deity named Cronus. But Uranus was a cruel father. Terrified of the strength of his own children, he hid them away, refusing to let them see the light of day. The earth groaned under the weight of this injustice. In the heavy silence of the deep earth, Gaia fashioned a weapon, a great scythe made of gray flint, and begged her children to stand against their father. Only Cronus had the courage to take it. In the dead of night, when the sky came down to meet the earth, Cronus stepped out from the shadows. With one swift, decisive stroke of his scythe, he defeated his father, severing the connection between heaven and earth forever. With Uranus cast aside, Cronus took the throne of the cosmos. He married his sister, Rhea, and under his rule, the universe entered an era of perfect peace. This was the Golden Age. The soil bore fruit without the need for human labor. There were no wars, no laws, and no diseases. But power born of betrayal carries a dark inheritance. As Uranus fell, he left his son with a terrifying prophecy. As you have overthrown your father, so shall your own children overthrow you. The prophecy haunted Cronus. The Lord of Time realized that the very thing he ruled over would eventually destroy him. So, he devised a desperate, terrible solution. Every time his wife Rhea gave birth to a child, Cronus took the newborn and swallowed it whole. Hestia, Demeter, Hera, Hades, Poseidon, one by one, the future rulers of the world, disappeared into the dark vault of their father's form. He did not destroy them, for they were immortal. He simply contained them, keeping them trapped where their power could never challenge his own. For years, Rhea suffered in silence, watching her family vanish. But when she became pregnant with her sixth child, the grief turned into quiet rebellion. She fled into the dead of night to a hidden cave on the island of Crete, where she gave birth to Zeus. In place of the baby, Rhea wrapped a heavy stone in swaddling clothes and presented it to Cronus. Blinded by his own arrogance and fear, Cronus swallowed the stone, believing his throne was secure. But the world was already changing. Zeus grew up in the shadows, raised by mountain nymphs, drinking the milk of a sacred goat, his cries hidden by the clashing shields of ancient warriors. He grew strong, not just in body, but in purpose. When the time was right, he returned to his father's palace. Disguised as a servant, with the help of a hidden potion, he forced Cronus to release what he had consumed. Out came the stone, and then, one by one, the older siblings of Zeus emerged, fully grown, immortal, and burning with a desire for justice. The household of Cronus was fractured, the universe split in two. The younger gods established their stronghold on the heights of Mount Olympus, while the Titans gathered their immense strength on the peaks of Mount Olympus. The war before Olympus had begun. It was a conflict that lasted 10 long years, a decade where time seemed to stand still, and the fabric of reality began to tear. The Titans fought with the raw, crushing weight of the earth and the stars. The Olympians fought with new weapons, with strategy, and with an unyielding will to survive. Mountains were uprooted and cast into the seas. The oceans boiled, and the sky turned to ash. Yet, after years of endless strife, neither side could gain the upper hand. The universe was locked in a deadly stalemate. This is where the myth becomes more than just an ancient fantasy story. To the Greeks who listened to this tale by torchlight, these details were not random. They were trying to explain a pattern they saw in human life. The Titans represent the raw, untamed, primordial elements of existence. They are the great volcanoes, the ocean storms, the passing of generations, and the uncaring weight of nature. They are magnificent, but they are wild. When Cronus rules, there are no laws, because nature has no laws. But humanity cannot thrive in a world of pure, unpredictable nature. We need order. We need boundaries. When Zeus and his siblings challenge the Titans, it is the birth of civilization. It is the arrival of law, justice, intellect, and structure conquering the wilderness. The weapons of the Olympians are not just physical, they are symbols of mastery over the elements. Zeus wields the lightning, a force of nature harnessed by design. And consider the nature of Cronus himself. Cronus is the ancient Greek word for time. To ancient listeners, the image of a father swallowing his own children was the ultimate metaphor for existence. Time is the force that gives birth to everything, every human life, every civilization, every beautiful moment. Yet, time is also the force that inevitably consumes everything it creates. By conquering Cronus, the Olympians did something humanity always wishes it could do. They conquered time. They became timeless. They became eternal. Across many ancient traditions, we find a remarkably similar cosmic pattern. The details change based on the land and the culture, but the underlying human question remains exactly the same. In Norse mythology, the bright, orderly gods of Asgard must fight a continuous, bitter war against the Jotnar, the frost and mountain giants who represent the cold, destructive, and untamed forces of the Nordic wilderness. Just like the Titans, the Jotnar are older than the gods, and they threaten to pull the ordered world back into primeval chaos. In the ancient stories of Babylon, the hero god Marduk must battle Tiamat, the colossal dragon of the primordial salt sea. Only by defeating this ancient force can Marduk split her body apart to create the sky, the earth, and the cities of human civilization. Even in Egyptian thought, the solar god Ra must fight the great serpent Apophis every single night as it tries to swallow the sun and plunge the world back into the waters of nothingness. This does not mean these cultures copied one another. It shows us that ancient people, separated by vast oceans and deserts, all looked at the world and saw the same truth, that the order we live in is fragile. It is a thin crust built over a deep, ancient fire. So why does this ancient war, fought on the mountaintops of Greece thousands of years ago, still resonate with us today? Why do we still care about the Titans? Because the Titanomachy is not a story about the past. It is a story about the present. It is the story of our own lives. Every day, we live in the tension between chaos and order. We build our cities, we write our laws, we create our daily routines, and we try to find security. We build our own Mount Olympus. But right beneath the surface, we can always feel the presence of the Titans. We feel them when a sudden storm destroys a town, reminding us that nature cannot be fully tamed. We feel them when our systems of control fail, or when we look into the vast, uncaring expanse of the night sky. And on a deeply personal level, we feel them in our own minds, the ancient, wild, emotional impulses that refuse to listen to reason or logic. We are all trying to balance the structure of the Olympians with the raw passion of the Titans. We need both. Without order, life is chaotic, but without the raw energy of the Titans, life is cold, sterile, and stagnant. And maybe that is why the myths survived, because when the war ended and the Titans were finally cast down into the darkest depths of Tartarus, they were not destroyed, they were only buried. And sometimes, if you listen closely to the storms inside the world and the storms inside yourself, you can still hear them trying to break free. If you want more ancient myths explained this way, subscribe, turn on notifications, and explore the next story.